I'm Tom Borrelli, and I was a wrestler at the Citadel. I didn't start wrestling till real late, till I was a sophomore in high school. So I didn't obviously have the advantage of wrestling when I was younger, but there's a lot of disadvantages to that too. Because I started so late, I felt like I always had a passion for the sport, and there was more to learn and things like that. It wasn't boring to me.
Tom Borrelli was from Goose Creek, South Carolina. He was a little guy and destined to be an 18-pounder in college. And he was the first guy at every session. He would work hard during the session. He would keep you there after the session as long as you would stay. And when the session was over, he would be going to lunch or something like that, and he wanted to talk about wrestling. He didn't want to mess around. He was very serious.
My younger brother, Paul, was a lot better wrestler in high school than me. I never won the state championship. I was second and third in the state. He was a two-time state champion. But he didn't have the same passion for the sport that I had. My goal was to be a pilot. I took Air Force ROTC when I was at the Citadel, so I wanted to be a pilot. But then once I got into the Citadel, some things changed while I was there. My goals changed, my passions changed a little bit. I really enjoyed the leaders that I had on the wrestling team, the coaches. I really enjoyed the leaders that I had in high school, the coaches. So my direction changed to more wanting to be in education and wanting to coach while I was at the Citadel.
You know, I knew Tommy would be a great coach because he was a student of the game. He was not the most talented 118-pound wrestler in the Southern Conference, but he contended for the championship every year. And I guess from an athletic standpoint, my fondest memory is there was a guy at App State that him and Tommy battled every year. And that's all he would talk about, and I used to tease him about, I can't remember the guy's name now, but I used to tease him about it during wrestling season, and Tommy ended up getting that guy his senior year.
He is not the type of coach or person that's going to sugarcoat anything or tell you just what you want to hear. You know, he just has a lot of pride in being very matter of fact and telling people the truth, and I think he probably got that a lot from that type of environment that he was in. It was very not cutthroat, but it was what it was. You know, no one was going to be there to feed your ego by any means. They were there to make you a very tough-minded person and to prepare you for the tough challenges of the real world, I guess. You know.
Probably the guy who was the most influential with me going to the Citadel was a guy named Ed Steers, who's a Citadel graduate, was a Southern Conference champion wrestler there.
That was a start for me to have somebody like him, just sort of want to follow you, and it's a warmer thing than being mentored to me. It's a warmer thing than just being mentored.
As a senior, we had a lot of free time. If you were a pretty good student, if your grades were in order, your discipline was in order, and being a senior, you had a lot of free time. But freshman year obviously was a challenge. But Tommy and I, we just kind of laughed our way through it.
We have a common bond of respect for discipline and teamwork. You're sort of thrust together your freshman year with a group of people who you may or may not have ever known before.
You're just getting by day to day. It's almost like an out-of-body experience going to the Citadel. You're there, but you're not really there. You did a lot of things that you didn't think you'd do, or you didn't want to do. You did them, and you just got through them, and you don't remember them that much.
The Citadel really emphasizes three things in its structure. And number one is that time is of the essence. Number two is that organization is man's greatest asset. And then the third thing is excuses are unacceptable. And that's the base of our philosophy here in our program. And I'm sure Tommy implements the same type of philosophy in his. the journey that he took to get where he's at now, in that he started out being a private school coach, and then was at a bigger high school, and then got into the college scene. And I can remember talking to him when I took this job. He called and congratulated me. And I said, Tommy, what's the biggest difference between coaching high school athletes and coaching college athletes? And he said, Freddie, you got to be sure and delegate to your assistants, because if you don't, it'll overwhelm you. And he hit the nail on the head.
I would say he's somebody who he's not gonna give up on you. If he brings you into the program, it means he saw something extremely good in you, whether it's the type of person you are or the type of wrestler he thinks you'll be. And he's also somebody who isn't gonna give up on you quick.
I always wanted to be a lot better than I was from an accomplishment standpoint. I always wanted to be a lot better. So I think that drove me into wanting to help others accomplish their goals. And so I think those things of my frustrations with not being what I consider good enough. I didn't want anyone that I ever coached to go away from the sport feeling that way.
As an educator, you want to see the fruits of your efforts, which are going to be realized way down the line. And when you have someone that you've worked with that's exceeded what you've ever done, it's really a good feeling.
Central Michigan is a situation that obviously Tommy, I'm sure, could have maybe had opportunities to leave, but I think he really enjoys coaching that caliber of student athlete and putting them on the national map. I mean, they're in the top 10, 15 in the country every year, and he has an All-American or two every year. And gosh, his one son's at Stanford, and he's, I guess you'd say, found his niche there at Central Michigan.
He did a good job of just becoming my coach and could separate the father-son relationship. But as a 18-year-old, that's hard thing for me to do, or it was a hard thing for me to do. And
it was different. You have a different feeling when your kid's wrestling than you do. You try not to have a different feeling. You try to think of every athlete on your team as one of your kids. But there's a different feeling in your stomach when it's your kid.
A great experience to coach your own son, but you got to make sure he's good enough, because every fan in the stand is obviously saying, well, he's out there because he's daddy's boy.
You do a little bit more than the coach asks you to do. You do a little bit more than you think you can do every day.
I really feel like if you can conquer your anxiety and you can do all the things necessary to be a successful wrestler, discipline-wise, training, making weight, sacrificing. I think once you learn how to do that, you have a lot of confidence in yourself.
Well, we're a little bit of a different ilk, and obviously it's a very individual, personal type sport, and you have to avoid the fear of failure and be able to take risks, and you have to be able to take the risk to invest a great deal of time in seeking a goal you may not achieve.
The Dan Gable quote of "once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy" tends to be pretty true. I think it just teaches you hard work. It teaches you sacrifice. I think one of the biggest things about our sport is it's extremely humbling.
When you're out on the wrestling mat wrestling, nobody can help you, and sometimes you're in those situations in life, and if you can, reflect back on those things you've learned, those situations aren't that tough. I'm Tom Borrelli, and I was proud to have competed in the Southern Conference.